everyone. This is a hybrid meeting of the City Council. Members of the public can view this meeting live on Channel 8, the city's website, and YouTube. Live Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091#. I will now call the meeting to order
servicios de
and ask.
interpretación en español para esta reunión del Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Marque el número 720-386-9023 y utilice el código 104091#.
Thank you very much. I will now call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call roll.
Mayor Douglas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble,
Present.
Councilmember Madera,
Present.
Councilmember Teeter,
Present.
Councilmember Chacon, Councilmember Kim,
Here.
Councilmember Dukes,
Present.
Councilmember Ford,
Here.
Councilmember Douglas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to excuse members not present. Councilmember Kim,
So moved.
and a second? All right, Councilmember Douglas. Thank you.
I'll second that, please.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Please join me now in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the Republic of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Douglas is on a business trip, but he is joining us by Zoom tonight. And because he can't be here to actually run the meeting, if you will, I am doing so on his behalf tonight. Do any council members wish to amend the agenda? All righty. So we'll move on now to public comment. All public comment, except for those on public hearings, will occur now. If you're intending to comment about a public hearing on tonight's agenda, please refrain from doing so until the public comment for that particular hearing.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
We just need a motion and a second
Oh, to adopt
to
the
adopt the
agenda.
agenda as it is.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for interrupting. I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended, sorry. Councilmember Kim?
So moved.
Councilmember Teeter? Second motion. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Do you want me to repeat everything I said already? I think I won't.
I
but
don't think
get a
you need to.
chance.
You
All
do
right.
not need to.
You're going to get a chance now to do public comment. All public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Persons registered to speak for multiple items may speak multiple times. Council members may address public comments during administrative council business. Will the city clerk call on any virtual or in-person speakers?
Mayor Pro Tem, our first in-person speaker is going to be Jackie Valdez.
Good evening, council, city management, city manager. One of the main things I want to address tonight is the situation with the trucking industry that's still happening on 68th from the construction that's been coming off of 72nd there onto 70th, then onto Ash, and then onto 68th, and back onto Colorado Boulevard. I spoke with, sorry, I'm out of breath. I spoke with Sean Poe earlier this evening to address some of the situations that was happening. Saturday, we did get one officer that I know of stopped a truck, and then again today. So, hey, one's good enough, you know, that we just need a lot more. But it's consistent. We've stood out there and told them, hey, you're not supposed to be on this road, and they just laugh at us. One actually flipped me off. It actually flipped me off. And I just smiled at him and said, have a great day. But we have more kids that are on that area now that are going across from Albion onto 68th onto the park right there to play. And they're playing late at night. So these truckers are even coming down through late at night. So I'm asking for whatever it takes for Commerce City Police Department to be able to address the situation. As council, we need to make sure that they have the funding or whatever they need to address the situation before it gets out of hand. Second thing is, and Mr. Mayor's listening, is the situation there on 6 and 85 at 62nd with the guys that are coming and washing the windows. I know that the mayor has asked for them to be taken off the road. Friday night I encountered a couple of times, and even Saturday, with them approaching me because they knew I was snapping a picture to show that they were still back on the road. So we need to do whatever we can before something serious happens there. Now, the next agenda is the go-karts, the mini bikes, and the SUVs. Well, I can say over the weekend we had one officer that actually came pretty quick. You know, not quick enough, but he came pretty quick. And by the time that he came, they must have seen him in the area, and they were gone for a little while. And then as soon as he left the area, they were back on the road again. But they're just totally out of control. I mean, they're flying up and down 68, they're flying up and down Albion, they're flying up and down Ash, and they're going from the south side of Ash to the north side of Ash to 70. So we need to get a handle on this before we have another incident like my fence. So, and like I said, thank the Lord, I was bright enough back in the day to cement my fence in, because if I hadn't have, the young man would have been in my house. So we need to do something.
Our next in-person speaker is going to be Aaron Culkin.
I'm later, not in public comment.
Nope. We do public comment on everything right now.
On everything?
Yes.
I apologize. I thought you had specifically said to only speak towards a certain item later, as it was brought up.
Are you speaking for a public hearing, sir?
It's for a fireworks ordinance later on in the agenda.
Does that fall under public hearing, city?
So there's no public hearing scheduled for this evening, so any public comment would take place at this time.
All right,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Once again, apologize. Hi, my name is Aaron Calkins. I own Old Glory Fireworks. Been in business here for 35 years. Been in Commerce City now the last 3 or 4 years, as long as it's been allowed. This is, I don't know the number of the ordinance, I didn't write it down, but this is on 2 fireworks tents that we have in the city. We've had them there for years. 104th and Tower Road, 112th and Highway 85. We have done our due diligence. We start early in the year. We start in January. In this case, we had conversations with Commerce City in February 9th, to ask if there were any changes from the previous year prior to us engaging and negotiating leases and contracts and da-da-da. We were told that by Nicholas Berry, no changes whatsoever. Everything was the same. So as February rolled around, we started to proceed. We've now spent upwards of $60,000 on leases, labor, permits, tents, toilets, containers, dumpsters, state licenses, insurance, professional engineers, et cetera. We've already been issued by the city. Once again, through this whole process, we were told everything was fine, no changes. We've already been issued 2 sign permits, one for each location. We've been issued a building permit on each location. We paid for those as well. 2 fire department permits, so we're ready to go with the fire department. We've hired all our employees, our managers, who have worked, some of which have worked for us for years, and count on this, upwards of 20 employees. This year, in general, there are municipalities such as Aurora that have lifted all the restrictions and are allowing fireworks sales. Commerce City now has thrown us this little loophole and said that there's some kind of something that was adopted that now all of a sudden may not allow us to sell unless this emergency ordinance is signed. So once again, we start early in the year. We make certain all is good before we enter into all these contracts. We'd never have proceeded if we'd been told anything. We're now fully committed and ready to open. Once again, tents, containers, everything's up and ready to go. We simply ask that due to the early efforts made to ensure the enormous amount of money that we've invested, that you vote to allow this. Should you want to discuss this, please give us ample time when we start in January, February, and tell us at that time that maybe you're not going to allow for that upcoming season before we get to this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll take your comments into consideration when we vote on this later this evening. Appreciate it. Next speaker.
Our next in-person speaker is going to be Britton Cottrell.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Thank you. My name is Britton Cottrell. I work with TNT Fireworks, and I'm here just to talk about the upcoming emergency ordinance that you guys will be discussing later this evening. TNT Fireworks has been around for 104 years. It's family owned and operated, and our business model is working with local nonprofit groups and sports groups, civic groups. That's who works our locations to sell retail consumer fireworks that are legal in the state of Colorado. Those groups sign up with us oftentimes at a year in advance. Some of them have been with us for several years, and they rely on this fundraiser for a big portion of some of their budgets. We, as a company, like Aaron just mentioned, with Old Glory, with TNT Fireworks, it's the same. We've engaged with partners and with landowners. We've paid contracts, we've paid labor, we've paid for licenses, we've paid to move hazmat materials all across the country, and we did not know that there was even ever an opportunity that fireworks was perhaps maybe inadvertently or overlooked or inadvertently banned. We're not sure, but usually those conversations come up and we're able to come and talk at that time. Instead, we were just informed after we had got our permits taken care of that this had happened. So we're just asking for your consideration tonight, given the scenario and kind of how this came about, that we would be able to open and sell, again, just the state legalized fireworks that Commerce City has allowed for the past few years. Given the time frame of where we're at and ready to open and sell right now, that you wouldn't hold us back from that. And again, if there's a preference to have that conversation later by council, we would love to engage with you. I would just note that both the company that spoke before me and our company have worked diligently with the state of Colorado on a robust safety campaign that you can check out. We've worked closely with the governor's office, the state of Colorado Fire Prevention and Control Office, to make sure that we're promoting safe use of legal fireworks. And that helps, control the gap where we try to shut out illegal fireworks that are coming from all over, particularly from the north above us. We all know those avenues in which it gets here. So we're just asking your consideration to As you discuss that tonight, keep us in mind, keep our nonprofit partners in mind that are relying on this fundraiser. We're ready to start selling this week, and they would be devastated if that wasn't able to happen. I just want to thank you and appreciate all that you do. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cottrell.
Our next in-person speaker is going to be Troy Younger.
You guys need a larger mic. Troy Younger, 5409 East 61st Way. Let me start by just letting you know, I'm going to use the phrase core city quite a bit. I've kind of grown to appreciate that in regards to description of the South, just because I don't like dividing the city north and south. It sounds very Civil War. So I'm going to use core city a lot, just so you know. And actually, I'm going to do something a little different tonight. I'm actually going to thank some of y'all. I want to thank Councilman Teeter. I want to thank you since you've been back on council. I think you've been at a majority of the 270 meetings that we've been to. And your insight, your wisdom in the whole matter is very appreciated and very needed. That the 270 stuff, it's a weird thing because half of it, there's really two separate projects. There's the changes to Vasquez and there's 270 proper. But when we talk about 270, they talk about a lot of the same things that they're talking about with Vasquez. So you help keep that on course, and I thank you for that. Councilman Madera, last week I was listening to the first Monday of the month meeting. I want to thank you for jumping in and kind of protecting Core City a bit. I've listened to a number of those first Monday meetings, and honestly, it's a weird thing to have a bunch of experts talk down about a community and talk about how we're going to get officials, people who know better come in and save us. Thank you for standing up for that. I don't know a good word to explain just what it is. It's very, I guess, matronizing is a good word. And Councilman Ford, I thank you for piggybacking on there with Oscar last week. It was good to see you do that too. And I just want to thank you in general for your service to the city, for your time on council, for your time in governance. You bring wisdom and knowledge on the whys and the hows that policy was made that kind of brought us to where we are today. And honestly, you're a very good buffer to the kind of Veruca Salt kind of policy making that I see on TV or I see on my computer. So thank you very much. I've got a little bit of time left. I'm just going to say, kids, it's summertime. Go out and play. Get on your tiny bikes and ride the hell out of those streets. Have some fun. Run through the sprinklers. Drink from the hose, man. Have some fun. I know all you are watching will appreciate that. Thank you all. Night.
Thank you, Mr. Younger.
Our final in-person speaker for tonight is Antonio Navarra.
Good evening. May it please the council, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Antonio Navarra. I'm here on Ordinance 2607. I've been in the firework business for 26 years. We actually started in the 70s, and what turned into a hobby watching family quickly turned into a passion. I'm also a government worker, just throw that out there, so we're all on the same spectrum. I understand the difficulties and the decisions that you have to make as a council, and I appreciate your hard work. With the community, you're going to find that there is a lot of illegal fireworks. We're not the culprits. For 26 years, I've never had one violation. Never had so much as a, hey, let's go ahead and write you up and give you a citation for X, Y, or Z. By blocking legal fireworks that are deemed acceptable by the state of Colorado, they are safe and staying, deemed acceptable again, we are entering a troubled road. A road that's going to involve several fireworks coming from all other states. Because if they can't get the legal ones, they're going to buy the illegal ones. and you're going to have a reverse of what you're trying to accomplish. Next, I would like to bring up the fact that everything's been approved. I'm not going to get into the financial loss because that scares me. As a father of two, trying to get him through high school, trying to pay for college, and it scares me just to bring that part up. So we won't go there. But that could happen, and we understand that. Nextly, we want to engage in the community. And as you know, Commerce City is a very, very diverse community, dealing with people from all walks of life, people that come from that are nationals. This gives them an opportunity to be American. We love fireworks. So do they. This gives us an opportunity to bond with the legal fireworks, with sparklers, fountains, things that we enjoy. We're bringing our families together. We're bringing the picnics together. We're not looking to shoot aerials. We're not looking to sell you pop bottle rockets and artilleries. We just want to sell what has been deemed safe and sane by the state of Colorado. In closing, I know your decision is tough, but we ask that you please consider our track records and consider what we do for the state of Colorado. Everything from our backgrounds in CBI to state local governments, DORA, you name it. The regulations have gotten extremely difficult since the 90s, but we're here to welcome any conversation that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro.
And that concludes our in-person speakers.
Thank you very much. Members of the public were able to submit written comments online and by mail. Written comments were not received by the deadline. If follow-up is necessary, anyone who spoke tonight should expect to be contacted by a staff member. We're moving on now to proclamations. The first proclamation declaring June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth. And I will invite the invited staff and invited council forward to read the proclamation, and it will include Mayor Douglas, who is online via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. All right. Whereas Juneteenth is a federal holiday that celebrates the emancipation of the last enslaved African Americans in the United States, and
whereas on June 19th, 1865, enslaved African Americans in Texas learned of their freedom and that slavery had been abolished. A full 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which declared more than 3 million slaves free, and
whereas free slaves celebrated the news of their freedom through prayer, song, dance, and food, and
whereas the following year on June 19th, the first celebration was held that included clothing that represented their new freedom, prayers, spiritual songs, and a feast, a celebration that was held in other states and became a tradition within a few years, and
whereas Juneteenth is now celebrated across the country through community marches, religious services, prayer visuals, educational events, family gatherings, and cultural events that include food, music, and dancing, while also providing an opportunity for the nation to remember the impact of slavery that has had on the African American community, and honor the African American culture and those who continue to fight to end inequities, injustices, and the struggles that affect the African American community.
now therefore, the City Council of Commerce City recognizes June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth and encourage all residents to join in celebration by joining the city at the Juneteenth celebration at Pioneer Park on June 19th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you all. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim?
I'd like to set a motion forward to approve the proclamation.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. I'd like to second that, please.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. I have the proclamation here. We will be taking a photo in a moment. But first, I want to move on to the 2024 Memorial Day Parade Award winners. And I will invite Travis Huntington, Community Relations Manager, to present the awards. Oh, those are fancy.
All right, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, and members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. Travis Huntington, I'm the city's Community Relations Manager, and here to recognize our award winners from our 58th Annual Memorial Day Parade back on May 27th. The Memorial Day Parade has been a celebrated community tradition dating all the way back to 1964. And this year we were pleased to have an increase in entries, great turnout, and obviously something the community always gets behind. So we always have an awards presentation as a part of that. These awards that are being presented tonight were voted on by a panel of judges consisting of members of the Commerce City Veterans Commission, in addition to our Grand Marshal, who also selects one award. So U.S. Army First Sergeant Mr. Robert Andrew Henry, a 27-year veteran of the United States Army, also had his selection for the Grand Marshal's Choice Award. So we will go ahead and start off with that one. And to all of our winners, if you are in attendance this evening, please send a representative up to grab your trophy. And if you wouldn't mind staying up here near the front, we'll snag a photo with everybody at the same time once all the awards have been presented. And also just want to take this opportunity to reiterate our thanks to all the entries, the community members, the volunteers, the staff, and everyone who makes the parade what it is and such a great community tradition. So to start us off, the Grand Marshal's Choice Award this year is a familiar one. And this is the one and only. The rest are 1 through 3. But for Grand Marshal's Choice, if they were here, would the Marine Corps League Broomfield Detachment Foothills Young Marines please come forward. All right, next up is our Community Spirit Award. Our third place winner from Community Spirit was our neighbors right across the parking lot, the South Adams County Fire Department. Second place for that one was the Adams County Sheriff's Office. And our first place for Community Spirit was Adams County School District 14. All right, our next category, Most Creative Entries. And our third place award winner for Most Creative was VFW Post 501 Auxiliary. Second place for Most Creative was South Adams County Water and Sanitation District. And first place for Most Creative was Out of Control Car Club. All right, our next category are Most Patriotic Entries. Third place award winner for that was the Military Vehicle Collectors of Colorado. Second place was Mile High Veterans. And our first place for most patriotic is VFW Post 501 Auxiliary. All right, and our last category was Best of Parade. Our third place winner for the Best of Parade, this was a close competition in the voting, by the way. Our third place winner for Best of Parade was Military Order of the Purple Heart. Second place for Best of Parade was the Ford Model A Club of Colorado. And first place, Best of Parade, you've heard their name once before already this evening, Marine Corps League Broomfield Detachment Foothills Young Marines. So please, if we could, one more round of applause for all of our winners for the parade. And now if you would all join the city council for a photo, and while everybody's gathering around, would just again like to say thanks to everybody for participating, the residents who come out, the volunteers, the staff, everybody who makes the parade what it is. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huntington. I want to make the council aware that we will, after we do the photos with the award winners, and congratulations to you all, it's one of my favorite events of the year, we will also be standing by to have another photo with those who did the proclamation for Juneteenth as well, where I can present, where they can have this. Thank you. Thank you all so much. We're moving on now to presentations. First up is Rocky Mountain Arsenal update, and I will invite Charlie Sherman, Army representative, forward to give the presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Douglas, Mayor Pro Tem Noble, and members of the City Council. My name is Charlie Sharman. I'm the Army's program manager for the cleanup at the Arsenal. I appreciate you including me on the agenda this evening. I just looking at the calendar, it's been 3 years since I provided an update to the council, so it's good to be back. What I have for you this morning, or this evening, is a real brief overview of the site and the ongoing operation and maintenance activities. I'll then provide you an update of the new developments since the last time I was here. Also provide you a overview of what's coming up over the next 2 years in 2025 and 2026. Give you an update on the transition of management at the site, and then open it up for questions at the end. So the shaded area here is the original Rocky Mountain Arsenal, most of which has been turned over to the Fish and Wildlife Service as a National Wildlife Refuge. Highlighted in yellow on the map is the property that the Army manages. And we manage 5 groundwater treatment systems, 2 hazardous waste landfills, and 2 engineering cover areas, which I'll talk about here in a second. So just to recap kind of where we've been, the overall surface remedy was completed in 2010. At that point, we went into long-term operation and maintenance. As I mentioned, we have 5 groundwater treatment systems, 2 hazardous waste landfills, and 2 engineered covers. All those facilities are operating as designed, and they are successfully protecting people and the environment. Our monitoring is showing that not only are we having a positive impact on groundwater quality at the site, but we're also effectively preventing any additional groundwater contamination from occurring. So good news all around on our remedy facilities. All the operation and maintenance is being done in collaboration with federal, state, and local regulators. We have a great cooperative relationship with EPA, the State Health Department, and Adams County Health Department, and work closely with them in all of the work we do. Give you an idea of what we've been doing as far as operations. We have treated over 37 billion gallons of groundwater since our first groundwater treatment systems were installed. The first one was installed back in 1981. We've removed nearly 10,000 pounds of contaminants from the environment, from the ground, using the groundwater treatment systems. And put in perspective, back in 1993, we were removing approximately 650 pounds of contaminants from the environment every year. Because of the improvement we've made in the 30 years since, we now only remove about 75 pounds of contaminants. And most of the removal takes place in the center of the site with one of our groundwater treatment systems that's located right near the original source areas that caused the groundwater contamination to begin with. So what's new since I was here last? We've spent a lot of time kind of reducing our footprint in the area north of the Arsenal. We have groundwater treatment going on north of the site. And we've attempted to lower our profile and reduce our footprint while still achieving the same goals of treating groundwater to drinking water standards. So over the last 3 years, we've installed 2 new smaller treatment plants, the first of which is the new First Creek system, which is located just east of Highway 2, where First Creek intersects the highway. And the second is our new Northern Pathway groundwater treatment system, which is north of 104th Avenue and just west of Highway 2, just west of the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks. The good news there is that the system that went in originally back in 1992 in the Northern Pathway area, we occupied 72 acres with our extraction system and recharge systems. We now have reduced that footprint down to 4.5 acres. We have a 30-year lease with the Farmers Reservoir and Irrigation Company on 4.5 acres, right next to the railroad tracks. And all of our extraction wells, our recharge trenches, and our treatment plant are all located there on that 4.5 acres. The original 72 acres that we had since 1992, that area's been restored. We removed all the equipment, the wells, the trenches, and now that property's been turned back over to the landowner for redevelopment. So a positive development there. So with the construction of these 2 new treatment plants, it allowed us to then demolish the original off-post treatment plant, which was constructed in 1992. And I'll show you here in a second. So kind of recap on the map here, that original off-post treatment plant is shown kind of bottom right on this figure. And it was a 2-story structure located along Peoria Street, right around 100th Avenue. And that had been operating since 1992. The 2 new plants that we installed, the First Creek, it's roughly the size of a 1-car garage, so quite a bit smaller. And it treats about 100 gallons a minute. And then the Northern Pathway system, which is at the top of the page there, that's roughly the size of a 3-car garage. And that treats at about 150 gallons a minute. So with those 2 new plants, a much lower profile, but they achieve the same goals as that original larger facility. So last year, we were allowed to go ahead and demolish that facility, which improved the landscape out there. The top left is that off-post treatment plant in June of last year. And then going clockwise from there, you have a couple pictures of the demolition that took place in July and August of last year. And then by the end of August last year, the final picture there in the lower left is what the site looked like then. And since then, the area has been revegetated, and we have some good native grasses growing up there now. Not shown on here, just to the north and east and north of this, you may be familiar with, there's a lot of houses being constructed up in that area. So we definitely improved the neighborhood by taking that facility down when we did, improve the view of the residents up there. So what's coming up here over the next couple years? We have been to City Council before describing the Superfund process, where every 5 years, when you leave waste on site or have operating facilities, every 5 years you need to evaluate the effectiveness and protectiveness of that remedy. And so we're coming up on our 6th 5-year review next year, and that'll be started next year and then wrapped up in 2026. In addition to reducing the footprint off the site to the north, we're really doing the same thing on the site. Right now, the Army and our contractor operate out of 2 facilities. We're consolidating staff into 1 facility, and then we'll be demolishing the extra building next year. So the consolidation will take place in the January timeframe, and then we'll demolish that extra support building later in the year. And the last project I wanted to highlight, in a previous update to council, I've mentioned this, and we're just now kind of restarting this project. We have plans to put in a new consolidated groundwater treatment system. And it's shown here. This conceptual drawing on the top left of this figure is one that I think the council has seen before, but that is kind of an artist rendering of what the new plant will look like. It will be located at 88th Avenue and Highway 2, just to the east of Highway 2. In the same area as our current northwest boundary groundwater treatment system, which is shown in the bottom center of this picture, of this slide. In the center right is our north boundary treatment system, the blue building along 96th Avenue. The new plant will consolidate the operation of those 2 facilities, which will allow us to tear those plants down after the new plant is built. And so not only will it consolidate the operation of those 2 facilities into 1, but it will give us extra capacity to add additional treatment processes should they become necessary in the future. So we continue to monitor the groundwater extensively to make sure that there are no new contaminants being identified, and currently the systems we have are treating the contaminants effectively, but should a new process be necessary, we'll have the space to do that with this new plant. We are currently in design of that. We'll finish up the design next spring. And the Corps of Engineers will be one through the Corps of Engineers for construction, and they will award a construction contract, and that plant will be built in 2026 and 2027. So it should be operational by 2027. As far as transition goes, I will be retiring at the end of this month, and my leadership is currently in the process of recruiting my full-time replacement. In the meantime, one of my staff, Scott Green, who's been with us since 2018, will be the acting program manager until the end of September. Scott's an incredible engineer, former Air Force officer with over 30 years of environmental remediation experience, and so he does a great job now, and certainly will do a great job as the acting program manager going forward here. So in addition to Scott, we also have Navarro Research and Engineering. They're our operating contractor. They just won a competitive procurement action last August to continue operations at the site for the next 9 years. Navarro has been our operating contractor since 2012 and has done a phenomenal job. They have an incredible safety record and incredible compliance, environmental compliance record. And they do great work for us, and I expect that to continue well into the future. So the good news is that we have them for 9 years, which is pretty good in government contracting. Usually you're limited to 5 years, but we have the opportunity to extend their work out there for 9 years. With that, I'll open it up for questions for any of the council members.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions? Councilmember Teeter.
I have been the program manager since 2000, so it's been 24. I've been in Colorado with the project since 1989. I started my career back in Maryland with the Army doing environmental work back there, but been in Colorado 35 years now. So.
You've always done, and I appreciate it, and hope you enjoy your retirement.
No, thank you, Councilman Teeter. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your service to this community as well. You have played an intricate part of making sure that our community is successful, and heard that you were retiring before tonight, and was sad to hear the news. But yeah, from years with the CCBPA and your involvement there, it's always been a pleasure to work with you, and just wanted to let you know that you will be missed. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Douglas.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Charlie, a long time ago, I still remember working with you when the Klein treatment plant came online, and all of the stuff you've done for our community, making sure these contaminants are continuing to be reduced, going off-site. Appreciate all your hard work, and congratulations on your retirement. I wish you well.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Mayor Douglas.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate all your service, and I can remember the council going out and releasing those black-footed ferrets. That was a highlight, and they're still there, and they're actually adding to the facility. I really appreciate that. You know, based on your presentation, I had a question. These new facilities that are going to be installed, will those be able to treat the PFAS and PFOA that maybe it's inside the area?
That's a really good question, Mayor. Fortunately, PFAS and PFOA are not a contaminant that we have trouble with. We do have some detected in the center of the site, but we don't see it migrating toward the boundary in concentrations that are above the standard. It does have the space if we were to have to add like a resin treatment, which is currently, I think, one of the best technologies for treating PFAS, PFOA. We would have the capacity to add that treatment to this plant. But at this point, we don't envision that will be necessary. But we'll continue to monitor to make sure that it's not going off-site above the drinking water standard.
Appreciate that, and thanks again for all your years of service. You've been great. We heard about your retirement when we went visit with Fish and Wildlife in Washington, D.C. back in March. So again, thank you very much for your service and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Madera.
Yeah, I just want to echo my council members' appreciation for all the work that you've done for our community. I still remember 30-some years ago when all this started, and how far this project has come and what the arsenal has become to the community. So appreciate all your hard work, and happy retirement.
Thank you, Councilman Madera. I guess before I move out here, I would like to just say to the city and the Northern Community Coalition, which was a group with the Water District and Tri-County Health Department and the city. The city and the Northern Community Coalition were really instrumental in moving the cleanup forward. A great amount of common sense came to the room when the city and the coalition came into the room, and the big interest was move on with the cleanup and move on to the refuge as soon as practical. And we tried to do that. And my counterparts from Fish and Wildlife now are building the refuge to something that I think everyone can be very proud of. And it's a great resource, and I hope folks continue to take advantage of it going forward. So I appreciate all the help and support of the city in getting the cleanup done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharman. Good luck on your retirement. I'm sure after making such a wonderful investment in this community that you will probably be finding something to do that will continue that legacy that you started. I encourage everyone to go to the refuge. It's one of the best experiences there is in the center of Commerce City, and drive around and take a look at all the wild animals. It's really quite wonderful, and it's remarkable to realize that it is the most expensive reclamation of a Superfund site in U.S. history, and it's right in our backyard. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Martin. Perfect. All right.
All right, we're going to move on now to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission annual update, and I'm going to invite Iona Longsoldier, the DEI Commission Chair, forward to give us the presentation. Thank you.
And apologies, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm just going to jump in here really quick. We do have actually Travis Huntington, Community Relations Manager here. We did have our community and cultural liaison who is going to do the introduction tonight originally, and she was unfortunately unable to be here with us this evening. So just did want to take this moment to introduce Marisol Shaw and Scott Van Heusen, both members of the DEI Commission, who will be giving the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Douglas, Mayor Pro Tem Noble, council members. I'm very excited to present to you the work that the DEI Commission has done throughout the year and where we really want to go, which is what our focus is. So our mission has been unchanged from the inception of the DEI Commission. So really promoting diversity programs and providing guidance for a more equitable, accessible, safe, welcoming, and inclusive government and community. But what we really wanted to tease out was the vision for the DEI Commission. And we want to make sure that we're really fully participating in our community, really being able to give our input into our local government and ensure that it's done with the spirit of fostering a community where people are thriving, where differences are celebrated, and we are enriching our experience as Commerce City residents. So this is our commission, and the leadership is right there. It just, I think it was April, we just elected new leadership in DEI, and we have our members also here on the right-hand side. We do have a couple of vacancies, but we have a very diverse group of individuals who are committed to seeing the success of the DEI Commission at Commerce City. So part of what we went through this year was looking at the report when we were establishing the DEI Commission and understanding the assessment that was provided as to what was going to create elements of success for this commission, and really having those as the core of what kind of activities we focus on. So really understanding DEI principles, so education, understanding new practices, best practices, practices of engagement, understanding city government, the workings of it, where we're able to contribute and make an impact. How can we connect with the city and the community, making sure that we're present and visible? And then really having a teamwork culture. As nice and copacetic as a DEI Commission can be, there's a lot of members on there, and we have difference of opinions, different backgrounds, different lenses for how we work through things. So really ensuring that we had a teamwork culture. On the left-hand side, it shows the activities that we consistently partake in as a DEI Commission and ensure that those elements of success are part of activities that we do. So our DEI monthly meetings where we're able to educate each other, bring in speakers to understand best practices, understand different communities during our meetings. City proclamation, so making sure that our community is aware of different communities that are out there, different cultures, different experiences, and how can the city support that and make sure that our citizens feel like they're included in our city and in our government. We did take time to do a DEI retreat this year as well, and this was to really start doing some foundational work on how we're going to move through the next year and what kind of goals we're trying to achieve. We are hosting community events. Our biggest is our Juneteenth celebration on Wednesday, so we're excited to partake in that and host and ensure that we have vendors that are part of the African American community that make sure that we're getting the word out, that we're telling our neighbors and engaging City Council and engaging different business leaders to make sure that these events are successful. We're also volunteering at different community events. We had a table at Adams County Pride recently, and we're looking to partner with other councils, other commissions within Commerce City to make sure that we're supporting one another and that they have visibility to what we do and how we can enrich their community and their commission. And securing a budget allocation. So here we are trying to make sure that the dollars that are given to our commission are well spent and that we're able to really define some of the metrics of how are we saying DEI is successful in Commerce City. So looking at that budget and making sure that we're allocating money in a responsible way and make sure that we're also sustainable moving forward. So stepping up, so a big part of what we really want to do is really define what some of our next steps are, and apologies for this rather busy slide, but some of our steps is really having a strategic plan moving forward for the commission, having intentional efforts with what we want to do, how we want to engage the community, and then having defined outcomes. What does success look like when we're measuring? Is it attendance at DEI events? Is it businesses? Is it surveying? So really understanding what are those defined outcomes that are going to help the commission be visible and be an asset to the community. Then we want to take the time to establish some initiatives and how do we build initiatives upon each other and not just do work to do work, but make sure that we're doing things that are actually going to be impactful to the community. We want to make sure we're taking those actions and taking those seriously. So understanding that while we're a strong commission and a well-staffed commission, how do we engage our neighbors? How do we engage the community? Because we can't be at everything at once, but how do we create excitement around the DEI commission and the DEI work here in Commerce City? We need to identify our resources and not just the budget allocation, but where's DEI important to some of the businesses here in Commerce City? How can we partner with other organizations like the 27J School District, making sure that they know that we exist, and how do we support each other's initiatives? And at the end of it, we really want to evaluate our goals, evaluate our outcomes. Did we do what we'd set out to do? What kind of reporting are we going to have that can be consistent and accurate and have integrity when we're presenting here to the council, to hopefully have your continued support with this commission? So these are some lofty goals that we have, but we have a roadmap of how we want to get to be a fully functional DEI commission that is really enriching the community. And so these are just some opportunities for impact. I won't go through them line by line, but these are just some of the bigger buckets. So having an annual calendar so that there's foresight into what we're doing. And so we're not inviting people at last minute events. People understand, hey, the commission's involved with this, and these are some opportunities that they have to celebrate diversity. And have better collaboration with City Council, understand the agenda items that you have here, and hopefully maybe present a DEI lens on it and make sure that we're helping educate the council as well as to where there's an opportunity to better integrate DEI with City Council and with other commissions. We want to have a stronger community partnership. Again, this is with promoting civic engagement with our schools, promoting civic engagement within our businesses, within other organizations here in Commerce City. So many great organizations that just received the awards for the Memorial Day Parade. How do we make sure that we're getting in front of them as well and being a resource to them? Data, data, data. So I am a data nerd in my professional life and in my personal life, but we don't know if we're making progress unless we're measuring it. So what kind of data should we be collecting? And then how do we translate that to some initiatives or how the City Council takes things into consideration, not only for what we're doing as a council commission, but understanding different trends that are happening in our community, different populations that may be migrating here to Commerce City, or just understanding where do we have an opportunity to better connect to people here in our area. And then have a resource list, so being able to promote businesses and organizations within Commerce City that provide services to maybe specific populations, whether we're talking about transgender healthcare, whether we're talking about geriatric care, whether we're talking about multilingual providers who are providing healthcare to our population. So being able to promote those businesses, those organizations, being a resource for the community when they're looking for support. And then have updated information on culturally competent care. Overall, I think is super important, will help us thrive and helps really reduce that equity gap that we see and we continue to see. So these are some of our opportunities for impact that we're assessing within the council and understanding where we can start getting some of these pieces in place and really contribute more to the community and not just to what we're specifically doing in the commission. That might be it. Scott, do you have anything to add?
I think that's about it. This is a new commission. I mean, it's only a couple years old. And the first couple years, from what I understand, were very difficult, just setting up the foundation of the commission, trying to identify how it should work and what it should be accomplishing. And I think that the original founders in this commission, or the first members, had a lot of trouble trying to put everything together. They built a good foundation. And now, with some of the leadership from the first members, as well as new members, such as myself, we have an awful lot of optimistic goals. And it's going to take a lot of work. But we want to establish specifically a resource list, an educational component, not just to the members of our board, but to be able to have that accessed perhaps through the web. So if someone is having problems, they can find resources through DEI's list of resources that would be available at any time. And then to try and get new members, we do have currently 2 vacancies, and we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be seen and heard in this. We have a very diverse community, but I don't think we've been able to reach out to all of the different groups and community members who might find this something that they would find impactful. We've committed ourselves to doing 1 large event at least, so it may increase to 2. Last year it was Juneteenth, this year again, Juneteenth, but we would like to make sure that we can do events that don't target specific differences in our commission, but to maybe have a diverse group hosting a one-time event or fairs, et cetera. So that's also one of our lofty goals, is to be able to have more than a single event and to partner, again, with other commissions like the Cultural Council. So if we're doing something that's crossover, because many of our commissions can cross over together, we might be able to do more things every year by using partners within the city. I, as I said, am new. I didn't know that this council existed until I stood before council just 8-9 months ago and received a lot of support from council members and staff, and was thrilled that maybe I can help other people feel that they are a part of Commerce City. Because when I stood in front of council, I did not feel that. I didn't feel I had support. Now I know that that was just my impression, that there was support there, but I didn't realize it. And I'd like to make sure other people realize that as well. Questions?
Thank you both so much. That was really a wonderful update on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Thank you. Do I have questions or comments from the council? Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you so much, Mayor Protem. Thank you both for the presentation and the comments. And I can remember the first night that you came forward, Scott, and let your heart out about how you felt that you weren't a part of Commerce City. And since then, you have just taken the reins and you've blossomed. And to see this DEI commission, being as successful as it is now, it's taken a lot of hard work. I'd also like to take just a second to recognize the hard work of former Mayor Pro Tem Ellen Thomas. If it wasn't for her tenacity and her persistence, I remember the first year that we tried to do Juneteenth, we were told that we had to put it on hold and couldn't do it. And that broke my heart that year. And since then, this will be our second year. But because of your commitment and your hard work, that's happened. And I just know how hard Jennifer worked to make this happen. But you are bringing this forward for her, as well as all the other members of our community who might feel that they aren't included, but they actually are. And so thank you for the great and hard work, and presentation was fabulous, comments fabulous. Thank you.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to comment and say thank you for your time and effort in putting together the vision for the DEI work. And oftentimes with DEI, it's what you say, you have to have data to know where you're going. And something on here on your checklist I value and I look forward to seeing more of is the idea of being able to help council look at policies that are rooted in DEI practices as measured by data, and then so we can really be intentional about the work we're doing. As I do have a question. When you think about the DEI work, are you including access to affordable housing and transportation and equity in that aspect as well, or is it? I just want to ask that.
Yeah, I think that really ties in with the policy when we're talking about working with city council and being better integrated and understanding. This isn't just about maybe new buildings coming up or new housing coming up or programs for people who are on the lower end of the wealth gap, but it's really being able to say, hey, this is the population that it would help. This is how it's going to close some gaps in either healthcare equity and housing equity and stability and the results. And so there's other DEI commissions across Colorado that have been very successful with integrating with their council and with their city and their commission. So it's really not reinventing anything, but it's being more intentional about the work that we do and what we're able to take on.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you very much. What I find exciting about Commerce City is its diversity. So many other communities are far more homogeneous than Commerce City is in Colorado. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us. And I would like to suggest to any senior citizens who are listening to consider one of the two vacancies. In recent weeks, old has been thrown around as if it's a pejorative, as opposed to representing wisdom, experience, perhaps even knowing what consequences might come simply because of that experiences. And I think having that voice on the DEI Commission would be interesting as well. So thank you all so much, and hope to see you soon.
Wednesday.
Like Wednesday.
Juneteenth, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty. We're moving on now to the.
Mayor Pro Tem, it does look like the mayor has his hand raised.
Oh, I apologize. Hang on. Mayor Douglas.
Thank you. And I appreciate DEI coming tonight, making a presentation. And when you talk about inclusivity, that means including everyone and where people are not judged. And I really appreciate everything that you guys presented tonight, because that's where Commerce City needs to be. We need to go where the people are at. We have many events coming up, but we already had Music in the Park. We're having 3 more. And it'd be nice if you guys were included to have a tent there as well. So thank you very much for you guys' service, because without this, making it what it is tonight, the last 2 years I've been watching this, it's come a long ways. And we all have work to do, but working together, we can get a lot more done. So I just want to say, appreciate you guys, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor
Thank you.
Douglas.
Thank you again. And thank you, Mr. Huntington. All righty. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, or non-controversial. These items are presented to council for a single motion and vote. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item off the consent agenda for further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, there are 13 items on the consent agenda. I do want to know if any council members wish to remove an item, and I also need a request to remove Resolution 2024-067 so that the mayor may recuse themselves on the vote. Do any council members wish to remove an item? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, thank you. I would like to remove ordinance 2588, please. And then I can also make the request to remove resolution 2024-067 as well, so the mayor may recuse himself.
Thank you. And Councilmember Madera, did I see your hand up?
I was just going to make a motion to remove that resolution that you stated.
All righty. Thank you so much, sir. All right. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Councilmember Teeter? And Councilmember Madera?
Second.
Thank you. Will the city clerk read the titles and take a roll call vote?
Minutes of the May 2024 regular meeting. Minutes of the June 10th, 2024 special meeting. Ordinance 2576, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Regional Air Quality Council grant in the amount of $98,229.92 for mowed down pollution and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Ordinance 2586, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Walmart Spark Good Local Grant in the amount of $5,000 to support Commerce City Police Department community outreach programs and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Ordinance 2592, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by transferring portions of the unencumbered fund balance of the general fund and information technology fund for a total amount of $1,392,000 for the costs associated with the police records management system and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Resolution 2024-047, resolution authorizing award of contract for a records management system implementation services for the Commerce City Police Department to Axion Enterprise Incorporated. Resolution 2024-052, a resolution authorizing award of contract for website design and hosting to Granicus LLC. Resolution 2024-060, a resolution finding substantial compliance of the annexation petition in case AN 263-24, known as the Tower Landfill Annexation, and the setting a public hearing to determine eligibility for such annexation. And Resolution 2024-066, a resolution authorizing amendments to master services agreement with Core Consultants. Resolution 2024-073, a resolution amending council policy number CP16 to formally adopt Bob's Rules of Order for Colorado Local Governments 2023. Resolution 2024-074, a resolution amending council policy number CP-3 to formally adopt Bob's Rules of Order for Colorado Local Governments 2023 for all the cities, boards, and commissions. Your vote is now open. And then, Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, do you want separate votes on the two items that were pulled?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Councilmember Douglas, let's start with 2024-067, and this is so the mayor may recuse themselves on the vote. Mayor?
Yes, I'm going to sign out now, and the city clerk will let me know when to sign back on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, because of a possible conflict of interest, I guess, I would say, is the reason that I would like to see the mayor recuse himself from this vote.
Okay, and he has done so. So,
thank you.
In that case, I need a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2024-067. Councilmember Madera?
So moved.
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, I believe per city council policy, there needs to be a motion allowing the mayor to recuse himself from a vote. So if we could have a motion to do that in a second.
Those are exactly the kind of things I like to know about at 4 o'clock.
It just dawned on me, my apologies.
All righty, thank you very much. All right, so we need a motion and a second. So I think I had Councilmember Madera first.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and the second is Councilmember Teeter?
I'll second that motion.
All righty, thanks. All right, this is specifically on the mayor recusing themselves on the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you. The motion passes. All right, now I need a motion and a second to approve the consent. No, stop. I'm talking to myself. I need a motion and a second to approve 2024-067. Councilmember Madera
Move to approve Resolution 2024-067.
and Councilmember Teeter.
Second the motion.
All righty, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion passes. All right, Councilmember Douglas, you pulled 2024-2588.
Yes. Thank you. This is,
Sorry, council member. Would like to make sure that the mayor is back on.
oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
He's been informed. We're just waiting on him to rejoin now.
And it looks like the mayor has rejoined the meeting.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Douglas? Oh, now we lost Councilmember Kim, but we'll forge ahead.
All right. So I know that this Oasis Park project in Buffalo Highlands has come up many times. This seems to be the last leg of it, but the reason I wanted to pull it is because this last 1,100,000 is a lot of money. And from the get-go in the presentations, it was always presented as being $2 million, which I thought was kind of exorbitant to begin with. But to add this extra $1,100,000 on as a side note, to me is just not right. When the presentations were made, the questions were asked about the possibility of the other 1,100,000, and it was always kind of sidestepped, where we never got real answers on it. And so to have it on the consent agenda and that amount of money, when we know that there are other needs in the city, just to me is not right to have it on the consent agenda. And although I really want to see this park go forward because of all the work that has been done on it by the citizens to bring it forward, I just can't support this last 1,100,000. And so I'm bringing it up for a vote.
Did you want any staff to address the 50% increase?
If they have answers that are pertinent, they could certainly come forward.
So thank you, Councilmember Douglas, for your statement on the $1.1 million. I certainly can't speak for any presentations that were given to council at a study session or business session prior to my leadership, but I can tell you a couple things about the $1.1 million. Galloway Architect, who is the architect that did the design for Oasis, was aware of the budget of our original $2 million. They did have an engineer do an estimate for us. That estimate came in around that $2 million number. We felt pretty confident with that. Unfortunately, with that engineer estimate and the volatile construction environment we have right now, it just came in at that $3.1 million. Please do know that that extra $1.1 million is coming from park impact fees. Park impact fees can only be spent on parks, new parks, and open space trails.
Well, that is helpful. The presentation I was actually talking about was the one that was done for the public. I believe it was at Bison Ridge
The open houses?
Yeah.
Okay.
And someone pointed that out, and it's always stuck with me. The fact that the impact fees come from funds that can only be spent on parks, that makes it a little bit better. But, you know, to go from 2 million to 3 million, I mean, greedflation is bad, but I can't see that it can be that much. I just went to the ribbon cutting for the Kurt Holland Memorial Park, and that was done in a very short period of time, from what I understand, with very little funding from different sources. And this park has seemed to take a really long time. And to have it go up that much, it just doesn't seem right.
And understand also that where the park is located is a very difficult situation. It edges into a floodplain, which takes some time to go through that and get the correct permits for that through the Army Corps of Engineers. There's also no water in that area. There's no electricity in that area. It's not an easy area for us to access, so it's taken quite some time to make sure that we're doing this correct for the residents.
Well, I was in on this from the get-go, and I remember going and looking at different sites. If this site wasn't appropriate and was going to be too difficult, that should have been addressed from the get-go, because there were alternatives that could have been selected. But I guess it is what it is, and I just wanted to bring it up one more time. I hope something like this does not happen in the future.
And certainly, like I said, I can't speak for why this site was selected. That was prior to my leadership, but certainly from a PRG standpoint, this is not a site that we would typically see for a park, but we also wanted to be supportive of getting something in that area for the residents.
I just wish it weren't as costly. All right, thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? All right. I need a motion and a second to approve or deny 2024-2588. Councilmember Ford?
Move approval of ordinance 2588, council seated.
Okay, Councilmember Kim?
I'd like to second that.
All righty. All those in favor say aye.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
I believe we are required to read it in to the record.
I believe that's correct.
All righty.
Ordinance
Go forth.
Ordinance 2588, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by transferring $1,100,000 from the unencumbered fund balance in the Impact Fees Fund to the Capital Expenditures Fund for costs associated with the Buffalo Highlands Oasis project and authorization of the expenditure thereof. Your vote is now open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 7-1. Thank you. I'm moving on now to resolutions. This resolution is 2024-071, amending the Directory of Fees for organized events. Do we have counsel? Do we have staff?
We do, but there is no presentation, ma'am.
All right. Well, could someone please discuss the changes so that our community may actually hear what's being changed? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This arose because there were some neighborhood events that were occurring, and we'd had a change in fees last year, and we didn't understand that the change in fees actually affected some of these neighborhood events. So that's what prompted this change.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, members of the council. We are bringing this change before you as a request, just like you said, because there were changes in all of our fee structure last year. This was inadvertently put in. This more than, I don't know, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times the normal fee. We went back, looked at what kind of a reasonable cost was. These are events that we want to promote in the city and not discourage. So we went back and thought what a reasonable cost would be. And that's what's before you today. It's $125 for up to 500 people. And then 500 and over would be $250.
All right, and is that on an individual basis?
And then there's also an amendment in there to include if there are multiple events at the same location that do not have a greater impact within a 3-month period. So if you had 3 events in a 3-month period that was pretty much the same setup, didn't impact the city anymore, then you could roll those into one permit. So.
Thank you very much, sir.
You bet.
Really appreciate that. Do any council members have questions? No. All right, so I need a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2024-071. Councilmember Dukes.
First, I just want to thank you for taking the time to clean up this amendment or this ordinance. I think it provides more clarity, not just for the neighborhood events, but for other events that are taking place and other opportunities for our community. And so with that, I'd love to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-071.
All righty, do I have a second? Councilmember Teeter?
Second the motion.
Thank you. All right, is there any discussion? Councilmember Dukes, did you have more you'd like to say? All right. If the clerk would read the title, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, we're not required to read this into the record. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Resolution 2024-071, a resolution amending Section 5 of the Directory of City Fees and Charges to revise the fees charged for organized events / temporary use permits.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, we're moving into ordinances on first reading. Ordinance 2567, extending the marijuana store moratorium. The moratorium is currently for wards 1 and wards 2. Is there any staff who's going to speak to this?
You will find in the script, ma'am, that we have identified it as if council has questions, then staff will respond to those questions.
Yes, sir, I do see that in the script, but I was asking if there was any staff that wanted to comment. That is a question.
Not unless council has questions, ma'am.
I am counsel. Anybody else have a question? No? All right. You do? Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I guess my question is in line with our study session. With the goals for this moratorium, can you describe like the data, just to echo earlier with the DEI, if we're not measuring, we don't know progress. And so the 3 things that is laid out in this moratorium was council wishes to ensure equitable distribution of marijuana stores throughout the city. We have that by a map, correct? And then the potential studies of effects of or increase of setbacks for marijuana businesses. And then the last is prevent unnecessary exposure to the city's youth marijuana businesses. And I'm curious around what will we know more now or more of 6 months based on what we know now? Or I don't want to get into the practice of having moratoriums without data-driven conversations. And so I'm curious what data is coming out of this right now that we can build on in a 6 months moratorium.
Thank you for that question, sir. Great question. And obviously, Dylan, please fill in the blanks where I may fall down. To your first part about the data that was laid out, yes, we do have on hand, obviously, the number of stores that are located within Ward 1, Ward 2 versus Ward 3 and Ward 4. So, right, being able to understand the density and or the proliferation is one thing that we've been able to and can be able to provide. As it pertains to the separation distance requirements, once again, that's dependent upon active applications submitted and or if anyone wants to move forward. I think you all are very familiar with the singular application that we have received over the past not month, but year, that resided in the Northern Range. Due to the moratorium being in place, I think that's a very clear, and obviously with the adoption of the Land Development Code separation distances, I think it was a very clear message to those who may be of an interest of wanting to move forward that there wasn't an opportunity. So there's really no way to measure an outcome in an area that is already under some level of proliferation and or moratorium to determine what that additional impact is going to be in that perspective. And to your last question, just remind me again.
My last question is just around I guess, how do we know, how would you be able to measure in 6 months, or what are we looking for in 6 months that we don't already know today?
I don't think anything that you've heard from me today would be any different in 6 months from those categories that you've laid out in your question to me. Could we, from a professional perspective, look at the economic development impacts associated with marijuana-related type uses? Yes, absolutely. That's a piece that we could look into in that, because we do receive sales tax and use tax on that, and it is I don't want to say it's minimum, but it is an amount that we do have to take into consideration. And there are obviously indirect benefits and consequences that do come with that type of revenue generating type of use when they are located in the city. That would be, I say, a piece that's maybe missing from an analysis aspect. But once again, there's some obviously factors that play into that.
In my understanding that there was, when we talked about the ordinance changes and the setbacks over the last couple of months, actually, did that address the original challenge with having the marijuana dispensaries in Ward 1 and 2?
Would you like me to jump in, City Manager Rogers?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you, sir. I would say that would be a answer that would have to come from council on whether or not that did address. I will say that any new licenses that would come before us would have to meet those setback requirements. So the concentration of licenses, retail stores within a certain area would be diminished as their setbacks have been increased since that new land development code went into effect. One of the other things that council wanted to see from that study session last month was an increase in security standards for new licenses and new standards to be adopted. So that's something my office is working on currently to get hashed out, come before you, ideally before February, before the moratorium is, this extension would be up. And that way council can debate and discuss those new security standards and then adopt them before the moratorium would hypothetically be lifted in February. And then also I know council has discussed at the study session the design standards as well that I know community development and my office will have to work on in addition for those new licenses going forward after that moratorium would hypothetically again be lifted in February.
Yeah, I guess just help me understand so after 6 months of if we continue this moratorium, what will we learn that we haven't learned already? And what I'm hearing you say is it's up to council to be able to determine if it worked or not, but how do we know it worked or not if there's, I'm trying to figure out what's the data that we're gonna look at to continue to justify another 6 months and it will be another 6 months, and who's tracking it at the city, at the city level? How do we know?
Sure, so I would say, at least from my perspective from staff, I'm not so much as looking for new data during the 6-month extension, more so providing myself time to provide you all with new security standards to consider and adopting for all those licenses moving forward once that moratorium is again hypothetically lifted. So not so much data gathering on our end, but more time for the council if I'm understanding correctly, to let the new retail store applications basically freeze while new standards are adopted. So those new stores have that increased security standards as well as design standards once that moratorium is lifted, if that makes sense.
What I'm hearing you say is that providing more time to look at new security standards is a new change. And I guess city attorney, do we need an amendment to this? Because as it reads right now, it reads expand into this current moratorium with the 3 outcomes we stated. It doesn't add the reason to have more security standard, which I agree with. I think it's great they have the standards, but as it reads now, it's just not as clear as our intended outcome.
It's a good question. I think in looking at the existing ordinance, right, that lays out the moratorium language, which you read, the relevant language says to study the potential effects of new or increased setbacks for marijuana businesses in the LDC, prevent unnecessary exposure of city's youth to marijuana businesses, and to ensure equitable distribution of marijuana stores, right? So, whether or not the consideration of security standards falls within one of those 3 buckets, I think is one thing for this council to consider. The language is sufficiently broad that it may be relevant to prevent unnecessary exposure to the city's youth. That said, your point is well taken. You could potentially amend the moratorium to be more explicit as to the whereas provision that I just read.
So City Attorney Zarzeki and Councilmember Dukes, I just want to clarify, in Ordinance 2567, which is the one being considered tonight, the body of the ordinance reads that City Council wishes to ensure the equitable distribution of marijuana stores throughout the city, study the potential new and increased regulations related to development standards, security standards, and licensing caps for retail stores. You may be reading from, 2427, I believe, which was the one adopted last year.
Okay, correct. Okay, answer my question.
Yep.
Mayor Douglas?
Thank you. Appreciate that, Mayor Pro Tem. I was, reading this and listening. I would say about this extension would to include in this moratorium would be the consideration of Ward 3 and 4, and then extending this out until April or May, not in February, because in February we only have 1 meeting that month. Same thing with in January. So I'd like to make an amendment to extend this out till May, and then also include in this fact finding and all to include Ward 3 and 4, because between now and then, and if these other 2 marijuana shops are approved, we will have 45 marijuana shops in Commerce City. So that's what I would like to see. Thank you.
So I'd just like to clarify for council real quick, if that amendment is approved by council, the license or the zoning application that you had prior 2 weeks ago for the social cannabis store, they would have to get their application in before July 31st of this year in order to not be moratoriumed out, basically, from applying if the extension is towards 3 and 4. So just wanted council to be aware of that.
All right, I have a motion on the floor. Hang on.
I also had a question.
Yeah, I will be getting to you, but I have a motion on the floor, and I'm asking if there is a second. That's the process. Is there a second for Mayor Douglas's motion to include wards 3 and 4 in the moratorium?
We don't have an original motion on the floor to amend currently.
He is making a motion to change the language of the ordinance itself. I don't believe he needs to approve the motion and then, he doesn't need to make a motion on the motion and then do an amendment. He is amending the original motion.
Correct. That is
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you. All right. So do I have a second for Mayor Douglas's motion? I will second that motion. All right, we have a first and a second to include wards 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the moratorium on new marijuana uses. And did you have a date for that, sir? Mayor Douglas? Did you have a date for extending them, as I heard?
Yes, in May.
I don't
May
know what the
22.
length of time that is.
Let's see, I believe that is,
Is that
Let's see
9
here.
months?
That'd be 9 months, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. All right. For 9 months. The moratorium wards 1, 2, 3, and 4 for 9 months. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. You know, the whole reason why we have to have a moratorium for 1 and 2, and potentially for the rest of the city, is because when we originally adopted the regulations for marijuana, there was a setback between dispensaries, and based on the map of the city and eligible properties, we wouldn't have oversaturated an area. However, that was changed to 0, to not have any separation or require any separation between stores. To be able to have a system where we're not cannibalizing, the stores aren't cannibalizing each other, we're not ending up with a green mile and oversaturation. I would recommend that staff look into reenacting the setback between dispensaries moving forward so that we do not have a situation where we have stores next to stores next to stores like we do on Quebec Street. And it'll alleviate some of these issues. But to only have all these stores down here in the south, and I understand why we need a moratorium, but to have potentially one store maybe moving into the north, depending on their application, I don't understand why expanding the moratorium to the northern area. I think simply putting in setbacks back into place that should have been left in place would help detour the problem, and we wouldn't have a moratorium ongoing, in my opinion.
Councilmember Teeter.
I'd like to, if we want to extend this for 6 months, I'd like to call for an executive session.
The motion is for 9 months, technically.
I would like
But
to call
you would
for
like
an
a-
executive
all right.
session.
Just to be clear, you need to explain exactly why you would be entering executive session. So for example, you could make a motion requesting, and I'm sorry, 1 second, I want to make sure that we have the correct statutory provision. You could make a motion pursuant to CRS 24-64024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on the specific legal question surrounding moratorium duration.
I'd like to make that motion.
City Attorney Zarzaki,
Yes.
if I have a motion on the floor, can I interrupt that motion with an motion for executive session?
You may. I would say pursuant to Bob's Rules of Order, yes. So yes.
Okay. Good thing we got rid of that Roberts guy tonight. He's very picky. All right, so we'll go to Bob's rules. And do I have a second for Councilmember Teeter's motion?
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Dukes is the second. All those, is there a discussion? No? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All righty, we're going into an executive session. We will return, but We will be in a separate space. Thank you.
Mayor Douglas, we'll be sending you a Zoom link for that, so you can leave this meeting to join that one, and then you'll be able to rejoin the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Call the meeting to order. Thank you very much for that executive session. I appreciated the opportunity, and we want to start anew with our motions. So the motion on the floor would be regarding the existing moratorium ordinance. So I need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2567 by Councilor Esida. Councilmember Kim?
So moved.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
All right. And Councilmember Badera is a second. All right. Do I have any amendments? Mayor Douglas.
Thank you. I would like to add a friendly amendment to include Ward 3 and 4.
Motion maker, do you accept that amendment?
I do not.
Thank you. So we now have an unfriendly amendment. Councilmember Douglas, could you please state your amendment again? I'm sorry, not Councilmember Douglas. It is confusing sometimes for me. Mayor Douglas, could you restate your motion?
Yeah, my motion was to include Ward 3 and 4 into this moratorium.
And do we have a
Thank you.
second? I'll second that motion. All right, so now we are going to take a vote on this amendment.
Can we have some discussion?
Yes. Councilmember Dukes?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted to ask for clarity from Mayor Douglas. Understanding that the first moratorium, we didn't look at the data during the study session to find the impact. Can you explain or justify why expanding the wards for the moratorium? And what do you seek to look for in terms of data outcomes?
Thank you. Thanks for that question. First of all, I was on council when this was brought forward and the state legislators passed this to be put on the ballot, and their citizens voted yes to have this cannabis being sold, recreational and medical. So when it comes to boundaries, we didn't only had a few participants. Now we have 42, and with what was just passed last month, and there's 2 more coming up, we can potentially have 45. And that's as it stands, even with a moratorium. So my thought was, it wasn't supposed to be Ward 1, Ward 2. It was supposed to be in the industrial areas of Karma City, which ended up being in Ward 1 and Ward 2. So what I was asking is, during this moratorium, to include Ward 3 and 4 in there, and then find in the light industrial areas of Ward 3 and 4 to include sites for marijuana stores. And because right now we are saturated, and then we give an opportunity for us as council to look at that to have a fair amount of time. So that was my reasoning behind it with the data.
All right. Councilmember Teeter?
When I got on council, I got on to as a pro-businessman, and I'm still pro-business, and I'd rather see 100 marijuana shops than all these vacant lots around Commerce City and vacant buildings. And then as far as security, they're 100 times more secure than a liquor store. Kid's not going to get in there and waste his time trying to break into these places because it's just too easy to go out and get pot someplace else for the kids. And that hasn't changed over the years. It's still out there. But I see no negative effect for them being in Commerce City. So I'll be voting no on the extension.
Councilmember Madera.
Yes, I had a question during the question session that I think is still relevant. And it was in regard to the interactive marijuana license map that was included in our packet. If the city clerk could pull that up for us. So I'm just a little bit confused here on the numbers, because it appears that all of the marijuana locations are within Ward 1 and maybe a couple there in Ward 2. Can you tell us how many locations are in Wards 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. We have 33 licensees. Now, keep in mind, Commerce City allows for what's called a co-located license. So oftentimes what we'll see is somebody will have both a cultivation and a retail MIP. So they grow it and then they distill it and turn it into product for retail stores to sell. So we have 33 licensees in Ward 1, 4 in Ward 2, and 2 in Ward 3.
And the wards are pretty evenly distributed population-wise.
After the 2020 redistricting that council did a couple of years ago, yes, the goal was to get those as close to as equal population as possible.
Yeah, so this, is pretty self-explanatory to me why the moratorium was originally for wards 1 and 2, because the saturation is not even close. So for the intent of this moratorium to have spacing between locations and to beef up security, it just doesn't make sense to me to include wards 3 and 4 at the time. I find it hard to believe that we'll have stores opening right next to each other currently in this this environment. I mean, it'd have to be very intentional for someone to want to open within that distance in wards 3 and 4. And so with that being said, I can't support the amendment to include 3 and 4 at this time.
I almost press request to speak for me. Thank you, Councilmember Madera. I would like to raise as issues that I thought were very well presented before we exited for the executive session. The city clerk mentioned 2, security standards and design standards. I was very appreciative a couple of weeks ago when the city council unanimously approved my motion for security standards for a potential marijuana store. I think that's critical. Last week, or earlier this week, last week, there were 2 marijuana stores in Ward 1 that were approved automatically because they weren't pulled up by any council member. Those 2 marijuana stores could have had these same security standards applied to them, and they weren't. So those are going through. Those 2 applications were put in prior to the moratorium that was put in place last year. I also had looked for setbacks on the Marijuana Licensing Authority website, and initially they were there. They showed a 500-foot setback from residential, which of course was a mistake. We had unanimously approved a 2,000-foot setback in September of last year. However, with zone changes or PUD changes, a PUD amendment or a zone change can have the same effect. You can reduce it at any time you choose to. So I bring up also economic development. I appreciate Councilmember Teeter wanting to bring money into this community, and gosh knows that probably would. But at the same time, when I was at the retail convention last month, we learned from vendors, and I haven't had an opportunity to raise this yet because we haven't had a debriefing, but I had the opportunity to ask vendors how they felt about setting up shop near a marijuana facility, and they said, that they would not choose to do so. So we have to look at the impact of the proliferation of marijuana facilities in the South Commerce City area and what impact they may have had on the same economic development options that residents in that area want. It's no different between the North and the South. We all want the same thing. New grocery store, new restaurants, things for the kids to do. We all want the same thing. What if these have had an impact on it? We don't know. In the next 6 months, we can actually take the time to find out what impact this is having on Commerce City. We usually raise Brighton as the example of what we appreciate in terms of the retail that they have attracted. And you know that they only approved the chance of having 3 new marijuana stores in their city last month. Prior to that, they had none. They allowed no marijuana facilities whatsoever, and yet Brighton has all the retail that Commerce City says they want. I don't know if that's a correlation, but it's something that I would like to see the city staff investigate. We have a new economic development director coming in. Let's not handcuff him by making it more difficult for him. I am still supporting the amendment to expand the moratorium towards 3 and 4 for the benefit of all of Commerce City. Any other comments? All righty, there is an amendment on the floor. The amendment is to expand the moratorium to include wards 3 and 4. All those in favor say aye.
I would like a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, please.
Your vote is now open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
The motion fails, 7-3. The amendment fails. Pardon me?
5, ma'am. 5-3.
Oh, 5-3, thank you. Fails 5-3, thank you. I have an amendment to make now. My amendment is to change the boundaries of the moratorium to south of 88th and east of Central Park Boulevard and east of the Rocky Mountain National Refuge. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I saw other hands, but all right, thank you, Mayor. The mayor seconds that motion. City Clerk, could you please put up your map again?
East of Central Park, and then east of the Arsenal.
Thank you very much. All right, this is critical, in my view, is that, as you can see, Ward 1 goes beyond 96th up to 120th. I don't see that it makes any sense having any new applications fall only on Ward 3 and Ward 4. It's not by ward, it's by density of the locations, intensity, propensity, and that is 96th and below. Councilmember Dukes? Does anyone have a comment? Councilmember Madera, are you having trouble with you're not showing up on the screen?
Yeah, it says that I'm currently the speaker, so I can't raise my hand.
All right. I'm going to clear it. Go ahead, Councilmember Madera.
Yeah, I would agree with that, except for those boundaries don't match the density, right? If you're looking at the map, that's 92nd, where those northern bounds are for the current locations. So I can't be supportive of this amendment because it doesn't match what the map is showing us.
There is a marijuana store on 9600 Dallas, which is north of 96th Street. Is that correct, City Clerk?
That is correct. Yeah, they're just right up here in Wards 3.
Thank you. Councilmember Kim?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Can you repeat those areas again? You said south of 96 down to where, east and west, please?
It would be from south of 96 to east of the Rocky Mountain National Refuge and east of Central Park Boulevard. I think Central Park Boulevard is our furthest east border. City Clerk, also, could you put up the marijuana eligible properties map? I just wanted to point out that there is still a marijuana eligible property at 120th and Chambers on this map. We had discussed that previously. It's in a PUD. So theoretically, it would require an amendment. And I ask for the planned unit development map to be sent out to all council members to demonstrate to you that anywhere there is a planned unit development in North Commerce City, there is an opportunity for a marijuana store. Would anyone else like to comment on this? No? Okay. So there is a motion on the floor? Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I'm looking at my notes and I'm looking at Jordan. I think we have the same notes, and I believe the motion was to change the boundaries to south of 88th. I think there's been a couple of conversations about 88th or a different street, so I just want some clarification from you as the motion maker.
Oh, I'm sorry. South of 96. Oh, wait. Mayor Douglas, you are my seconder. I think it should be south of 88th Avenue. Because there's a whole industrial area between 88th and 96th that would be appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah, south of 88th.
That's what we had.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for correcting me. All right, so the amendment on the floor is to change the boundaries from Ward 1 and Ward 2 to south of 88th, east of Rocky Mountain National Refuge, and east of Central Park Boulevard. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'm going to call for a roll call, please.
Your vote is now open.
Thank you.
Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So are there any other amendments? All right, we will vote on the full motion now. To extend the marijuana store moratorium for 6 months only for wards 1 and 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Is this the approval of the ordinance? We'll need to read the title and then do a roll call vote.
All righty.
Ordinance 2567, an ordinance extending the existing moratorium on new retail and medical marijuana store licenses in wards 1 and 2 in the city of Commerce City by an additional 6 months. Your vote is open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. I closed the vote just a little early. If you wouldn't mind re-entering those votes.
All right, thank you. Moving on. Recognizing the Child Care Stabilization Grant. Let me grab that. This is for the Colorado Department of Early Childhood Education. It's in the amount of $12,023 for child care stabilization and capacity building. I need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2595. Councilmember Vadera?
So moved.
Councilmember Kim?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Mayor Pro Tem,
Oh, got to read it again.
read it and roll call.
Yep. Read and roll call.
Ordinance 2595, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by recognition of the Colorado Department of Early Childhood CDEC grant funds in the amount of $12,023 for child care stabilization and capacity building and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Your vote is now open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote is 8-0. Looking ahead, I'm going to be doing that again. I'm going to be asking the city clerk to read the title and take a roll call vote too. Just want you to know I'm paying attention this time. Recognizing Revitalizing Main Streets Program Grant, and this is for $1,420. I need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2600 by council as seated and approve on first reading. Councilmember Kim?
So moved.
Councilmember Madera?
Second.
Thank you. Will the city clerk read the title?
Ordinance 2600, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Colorado Department of Transportation, CDOT, funds in the amount of $1,420,000 for the Revitalization Main Streets Program and the authorization, the expenditure thereof. Your vote is now open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
The vote is 8-0 for passage of ordinance 2600. All right, moving on now to ordinance 2607. We had speakers earlier this evening on this ordinance. This is an emergency ordinance allowing limited use of fireworks. Do any council members have questions for staff? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, given the testimony of some of the people who came forward in citizens' communication, it sounds like if we pass this year, that these people will be impacted unknowingly of what they were told to begin with, and somehow it comes to my attention that they were misled in filing for permits and spending money. Is that an accurate observation or not?
I will try to answer your question as succinctly as I can, ma'am. Unknowingly, when the 2018 International Fire Code, which then received amendments via council action, as you may remember, through a separate ordinance prior to the last July 4th holiday, that would allow for the sale of fireworks that would not leave the ground, in essence, with an increased fine schedule for your first, second offenders, and obviously for your use. That became a part of that 2018 statute. When we then adopted the 2021 fire code in that same year, it subjugated, it supplanted and or removed the allowance for the sale. So as our staff were going through the codes, that was an oversight, an unintentional oversight. That provision wasn't carried forward into the 2021 amendment. So when approved, adopted, and going through the normal practice and protocols and working through the inspection process with the fire department, that is when we then found the discrepancy and or issue in middle of the process. So this emergency ordinance would actually put back in place the provisions that would allow for them to operate, not impact them or not be allowed
Okay,
to.
so they would still be able to operate then?
They would be.
It would just put a suppression on certain...
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification. I do appreciate that.
Mayor Douglas?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My question to staff is, this is emergency ordinance. Now, it would have to go through this process again. We would, as a city, next year. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. So the passage of this emergency ordinance, the language allows for permissible fireworks for certain dates for any year, which means it's not, only for this year, this calendar year.
All right. So those dates would be July 1st and then January 1st?
July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st of any year.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. Yeah, some of the testimony we heard tonight during citizen communication stated that they even received their permits from the fire department, as well as the city. And I think based on the oversight and the expenditure of money from these businesses, that I would be supportive, and if the council chooses to not allow sale, we need to do it in a timely manner to where we don't put ourselves into a bind. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Councilmember Teeter?
I just need to confirm it. A yes vote would mean basically we're going back to the old standards.
Yes vote will allow for them to operate as soon as tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I certainly understand the terrible position they've all been put in, and I would go ahead and support this at this time. But I think we all need to start thinking very seriously about the consequences of dry vegetation and fireworks. I am concerned about the dangers. I am a huge lover of fireworks, just ask my husband, and I love to find the best shows around. We shouldn't be having any aerials, and I know that none of you sell aerials, and I appreciate that. But it is a dangerous time because things are so dry. It's going to be a very hot week. And drones are becoming big now. And those are pretty great shows too, I might add. So we may need to revisit this in the future as we see what occurs over this 4th of July holiday. But for now, I will be supporting it also. So I need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2607 by council as seated and approve on first reading. Councilmember Ford? Councilmember, thank you. Councilmember Madera?
Second.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, Councilmember Ford. Thank you. All right. Will the clerk read the title and take a roll call vote?
Ordinance 2607, an emergency ordinance amending section 5-41001 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code to amend the fire code of the city of Commerce City. The 2021 International Fire Code is adopted and amended to allow the limited use of certain fireworks in Commerce City. Your vote is open. Mayor Douglas, how do you vote?
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, we're moving on now to administrative business. First, we'll have sponsorships, and then if there's any other business, we'll get that. Adams County Fair sponsorship, and I will invite Councilmember Madera to introduce this item and make a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to sponsor the Adams County Fair for the same amount that we typically do, which is $3,500.
And is there a second? Councilmember Ford? I'll second that. All righty. All right, although, any council members have comment? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Oh, that's delayed from your distance, Mayor Douglas. All those opposed say nay. All right, passes unanimously. All right, I'm introducing the next item. This is for the CUP Annual Gala sponsorship, and I am absolutely delighted to do this. So many of us enjoy the Reunion Coffee House, and now, of course, Greyhound Grounds. Two wonderful places to provide opportunities for the young people in our community to learn business and learn how to work with others, and it's just a great group. So the sponsorship would be $2,500 for the CUP Annual Gala sponsorship. Is there a second? Councilmember Kim?
Wholeheartedly second that one.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All righty. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, that passes unanimously also. Do any council members have administrative business items of an emergency or unforeseen circumstance? Mayor Douglas?
Yes, I want to bring to the council's attention, staff, that we talked about xeriscaping a few months ago, and it was supposed to have been on June 3rd, ordinance on first reading, and it was not on that agenda. Is there any way we could get that back on track? Especially with the summertime and people are really confused on, they were waiting for us to approve the xeriscaping in the front yards. Because there was a proposal to approve the xeriscaping in the front lawn, along with some adjustments to the tree lawn area. Upon approval of new ordinance, the installation of any artificial the installation of any artificial turf would be prohibited. So is there any clarification on that from the staff to see why that wasn't put on June 3rd's agenda?
We did not have enough space on the June 3rd agenda to comply with the 10:30 hour. We were already slated to go up into that and or beyond. So it has been rescheduled for July 1st.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Excuse me,
yes.
7/15, July 15.
July 15, okay. I will disregard that request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I wanted also clarification on the debriefing that we discussed about the International Conference of Shopping Centers. I put in a request for June 24th, which is the same day, same evening as Economic Development. Is that scheduled for that night now?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty, terrific. Thank you very much. And then my last question is about, while we were on the topic of fire and also the building code, I was inquiring again about vinyl siding and that we approved eliminating vinyl siding on new construction. And I was asking for the dates of the ordinance and when the ordinance took effect. I am concerned specifically that there are structures that are being built with vinyl siding, although we voted against that.
Yes, ma'am. After that was raised, or not raised, but after you made mention of the potential ordinance or ordinance that was, and the actions that were taken during the adoption of the International Building Code to eliminate the use of vinyl siding, staff has been going back searching for the inclusion of that language within the International Building Code. That I'll call it assessment and review is still ongoing. Mr. Gerber from Community Development has given me an update. We have not been lucky to find it as of yet. Once again, we're still going back and looking at the videos and going back looking at the code itself that was adopted. There were a number of codes that were adopted that we can review to see whether or not where it is located. If it's not located, then based on council action and motion with the appropriate ordinance, you may remember we had, I think, 13 to 15 different ordinances in which you all took action on. So we have to go back and review each ordinance and each discussion. So it is taking us some time. I will say, in the scenario where that was an oversight of not being included in the final adopted ordinance, I will have to work with the city attorney on what is the most appropriate step on ensuring that that action, that approval is being followed by staff.
That would be good, because I show vinyl siding discussed on April 17th of 2023, also July 24th of 2023. I can probably find it for you because it's in my notes. If you have any trouble, just let me know. Does anyone have anything else for administrative business? Nope. Okay, we're moving on to reports. City Manager Rogers, could you please provide your weekly report?
Yes, ma'am. Starting with community development, as of to date, community development has issued 302 new single-family detached permits and 324 certificate of occupancies. If you think about just those numbers alone, The certificate of occupancies represent over 1,000 new residents to Commerce City. And issuance of new permits means they're simply taking a step from review now to being able to move forward with construction and then the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. So we'll probably see that 302 or some amalgamation of those homes over the next 6 to 8 months. I raise this, we're continuing to grow, we have a stable growth. Just to share with you, we've seen 1,000 new residents come into the city so far this year. Economic development, staff attended a networking event hosted by the Site Selectors Guild, which provides enhanced access to site selection consultants that provide site location strategy around the attraction, expansion, or retention of primary employers across the globe for every industry sector and function. In public works, the 2024 concrete repair project is underway in the core city. Our crack sealing has started underway as well, and last week Turnberry neighborhood was taken care of. Our pothole team took care of 46 potholes, mostly in and around Irondale. Our 2024 crack repair program kicked off last week and started with the Foxton Village subdivision. Our Parks Property Management team focused on various key areas to ensure upkeep of open space and trails. Efforts were directed to the non-irrigated right-of-way of Tower Road, River Run area, and portions of 96th Avenue from Highway 2 to Chambers Road. There were also mowing activities for the Second Creek open space area on Chambers Road. PRG hosted our annual spring dance performance on June 2nd at Adams City High and was well attended with over 420 spectators. And we held our first Music in the Park event, which we saw over 300 residents come out to support the 2MX2 band at Veterans Memorial Park. The police department has seen Power Engage, the online survey system, after they respond to a call. You all may remember that when they respond to a call, they will send that resident a survey on the service that was provided to them during that call. And that has been online for at least 3 weeks now. We've had a 25.6 response rate on the surveys that we are sending out to our service call respondents. We will continue to evaluate the types of calls to seek feedback, survey feedback, and continue to enhance the program. Most of the feedback has been positive, and the chief hopes to expand the survey call types and scale up the functionality of the program in the months to come. Various elements of the Flock system continues to come online, and target date for full system operability is by the end of June. And last but not least, I want to congratulate our 5th Latino Engagement Task Force cohort. The LET brings a group of Spanish-speaking residents together to meet with the city departments to gain a better understanding of available resources and opportunities in the city and serve as ambassadors to help spread the word across our community.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, do you have any idea how many of those hundreds of permits that have been issued were for structures with vinyl siding?
I do not, ma'am.
All right, thank you. City Attorney Zarzaki?
I will keep this brief. I just wanted to congratulate you all for adopting Bob's rules. You should have in front of you a copy of the rules. It's a great read. It takes about an hour and a half. Strongly recommend that you all read it. But I want to direct your attention to Appendix B and Appendix C. Appendix B has a list of all the rules for your reference. And then Appendix C has a summary table of all points and motions. Now that you have formally adopted this, I will be working with my staff to print out a laminated copy of Appendix C summary table that you will all have at your disposal in every council meeting moving forward. And we will also do the same for boards and commissions. So thank you. The last comment is I will be attending the CML conference this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Council members who wish to make a report, and as a reminder, 5 minutes, please. Councilmember Kim.
Actually, I think we missed the spot about asking city manager for any questions about their report. So I just want to go back.
It's not on here, but feel free.
Got it. Cool. Mr. Rogers, thank you so much for the report. So just a few things. So number one is I did hear the executive director come up here talking about our relationship that we have with the Chamber of Commerce and our city staff. So what I'd like to, I just have a few questions on that. Could you please provide a quantifiable statistics on the number of businesses that have been referred by the Chamber of Commerce for new and potential business ventures, as well as strategies for sustaining existing businesses we've had in the last 2 years?
Thank you, sir. As of today, there have been 0 business references, and what I mean by that, the city has not received or engaged with the chamber on potential businesses that were transferred over to us to be able to carry through our process. So right now, we've had 0 engagement at that level with the Chamber of Commerce.
Copy that. So what I'm understanding, please, for clarification, whether it's from our economic development team or even from city staff, over the past 2 years, we have not received any form of new business ventures from the Chamber of Commerce.
No, the focus has really been on business support, business retention. The attraction aspect has been, I wouldn't say a key focus or priority. There has been some discussion of them wanting to partner with the city, as far as an example, going to ICSC with the city to help promote. But really the focus has been around the retention and the support functionality that they currently have.
But 0 new business ventures in the past 2 years.
Yes,
Got it.
Yes,
And
sir.
then the other question I have is regarding the Chamber of Commerce. So just in your professional view, I know we have a valued partnership with the Chamber of Commerce for here in Commerce City. What strategies do you recommend to further enhance or maybe expand our current partnership?
Yeah, that's a great question, sir. In my professional viewpoint, I think there's an opportunity. I think first and foremost, there needs to be a conversation between, recommend between council and the Chamber of Commerce at large to talk about expectations with respect to economic development and what types of partnerships, whether that is to financially support the chamber to a greater degree, to talk about the support of programming that may be needed, staffing that may be needed. Where I've seen successful relationships between a chamber and a city is really discussing the expectations that create the Chamber of Commerce as a de facto extension of staff, and being able to really leverage some of the lack of bureaucracy that is required through process, given that they are governed by a different set of rules. And it really then allows for economic development, not just to be viewed from a public perspective, but a quasi-public/private endeavor that really allows for you to have some innovation and thought around process, where maybe the city takes a matter on versus the chamber, or the chamber takes an item on as such. Parker Days is a prime example where the chamber has greater ability than the city to generate attraction, to generate foot traffic, to generate sales and use tax. Parker Days, over the course of 4 days, brings in over 100,000 people. But that is an effort that is supported by the city or by the town, which is then initiated, implemented by the Chamber of Commerce. And I think there are some of those missed opportunities that we're not leveraging as it currently stands as a city with the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you for that, Mr. Rogers. I'll tell you what, I know I've said some stuff in the past about the chamber, right, and over social media and a few other places, but you know what? I consider that the past. And so I think we need to figure out a way, how do we move forward? How do we become a better partner together to basically make Commerce City better than what it, better, or increase our robustness that we have here in the city? I think I do like the idea as far as, with council and chamber, maybe having some form of expectation meeting or something. If council would agree, I think at some point in the future, I'd probably put that on administrative council business to request that. Thank you for all the insight altogether. My last question, unrelated to anything, right? So regarding cellular internet connectivity services in both the northern and southern regions of Commerce City, you know, we've had some intermittent, either it's connectivity issues or reception issues, right, in just all areas just around. Do you know if there's any upcoming plans for improvements or alternative options to address these issues?
Another great question, and you know, what I have found to be a little bit odd is that there's not been very much engagement, to no one's fault, with the cellular companies, whether that is your CenturyLink, your T-Mobiles, your Verizons, your AT&Ts of the world. Because typically in that engagement, what you would understand is what is their master propagation plan, how they plan on building additional towers in key locations so that they have coverage both at the macro and the micro level, or looking at co-locations and then identifying the process with the local municipalities so that it is streamlined to comport with FCC requirements. I'm not seeing that in my period of time here, and I agree with you. There are spotty areas in our northern range. There's spotty areas, you know, in our core city as well. So what I've asked our staff is to actually start working with the government liaisons of these various corporations so that we can try to schedule some of these discussions on understanding the master plan and how they plan on bringing that forward. And understanding the technology that they are already utilizing on their towers that they are making modifications to help expand coverage as well so that we can get that communication out. I know that's a long question, a long answer to your question, but that I would say is probably the most realistic answer that I can give to you right now where we stand, just because we haven't had those kind of master propagation plan conversations with those corporations.
Copy that, Mr. Rogers. Yeah, I think that's something that, you know, again, my own opinion again, I think that's something that if we as a body would agree to, be amenable to actually understand that, to have them come forward to discuss it. I mean, heck, I even have Verizon, right? So Verizon is my cell service provider, and even southern portions of Southern City, it's intermittent. Definitely up in the north, it's all over the place. So I think if we were to request those government entities to come forward, to go to speak, to kind of give us what that, whether it's the next year's plan or even 5-year plan, would definitely be beneficial and ideal for I think for all residents to really understand what is the plan moving forward. Now, granted, you can't make everybody happy, right? Because you're going to have people who's like, oh my God, there's another cell tower, or whatever the case may be, right? But I mean, it's a matter of, you know, we got to do what's right to help both parts of the city to have robust communications whenever needed, whenever possible. So thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. For reports tonight, I think it's really important, since we just talked about fireworks and allowing these stands to open up because of a misunderstanding, as well, I'll state it as that. I think it's important for our residents to realize the safety precautions, the fact that we don't allow these mortars and things that you're getting from Nebraska, Wyoming, wherever you get them from. I would caution our residents to please celebrate the 4th of July, have fun, light off the fireworks that are legal in Colorado. Be safe. We just had a house burned down today, again, another one. And because of that, I think it's important to talk about these risks. Unfortunately, over the years, 4th of July in Commerce City usually starts a month before and goes for a month after. And we have a lot of people that served in the military that have PTSD, people's pets. There's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't shoot them off every day of the week for a month before and a month after. Please be cognizant of your neighbors and enjoy the 4th of July. But do it. Have fun on the 4th of July, and don't violate the laws of the city. I think that's very, very important. Yes, sir?
Thank you for that, Councilmember Ford. And you reminded me of an item to share with you all On July 1st, the police chief will be coming to you all at that meeting to kind of talk about the various commands that will be performed over that week, and obviously on July 4th. Obviously, as we all know, that is a very big day for our officers, not just with fireworks enforcement, but there is also a lot of other activity that goes, I don't want to say unnoticed, but probably not at the forefront because you're dealing with what's visibly and visually in front of you. So he's going to lay out a plan of how they plan on trying to address not just what is the topical priority of the fireworks enforcement, but also some of the other things that come along with that so that you understand the plan of attack for that weekend into the following.
Thank you. But as for the fireworks, it was just several years ago, there was a person that received a ticket in Reunion for shooting off fireworks prior to the 4th of July. Gentleman must have spent quite a bit of money on fireworks, and he didn't want another violation, so he did a fireworks show inside of his garage and caught his own house on fire. I mean, it's all about using your head, being safe, and being neighborly. So, time of day, safety, don't light anything on fire that shouldn't be lit on fire. All those things, I can't say enough, but PTSD and the pets, I think, matters a lot. So please keep it limited to the 4th of July, please. And then I also wanted to say happy belated Father's Day to our residents of Commerce City and to anybody on staff and this council, because it's been a while since we've had a meeting. Father's Day was yesterday. I hope you all enjoyed your day and spent time with your families. All of us somewhere, somehow, have a father, and we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you to all the fathers in Commerce City. That's all I have.
Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, I attended the airport coordinating committee here last week along with Mayor Douglas, and hopefully we can get something sparked with this Airtropolis regional committee that we're sitting on, and maybe we can get something going with that. And also attended the Senior Resource Fair along with Mayor Pro Tem. And that was a very good show, I should say, and very informative, and a lot of good information there for the seniors that showed up. You know, most of the information you get from Medicare and Medicaid these days are from different vendors, to where they had information from the state and it ruled out the vendors. I also attended the Music in the Park by 2MX2. It was very well attended, and believe it or not, I liked the band. It was a little young for me, but they had a very good beat and sounded good, and they had the rock climbing wall up, and they was doing face paintings, and almost got me a Tyson tattoo on my face, but I changed my mind at the last minute. But it was just a nice evening out. We got a nice breeze blowing through there, and that 95-degree temperature went away real quick. And also attended that Chambers Board meeting just before that, where we out at the iGo Realty out at up north, and they're going to have their grand opening this Friday coming up, or their ribbon cutting coming up this Friday. And I also attended the E470 Authority Board meeting, and also attended the Holiday Memorial Park grand opening, which this was just talking about putting money into parks. There's a lot of money put into this park, but I was very impressed with the outside sources that invested money. Not just the city invested money, but places like Suncor and your metro districts, and these people are still wanting to, when we was leaving there, they was asking, how can we donate more money? So, and we're gonna get back in touch with them, and I know the city's got a lot of money invested in that park, being that it's in Buffalo Ridge's actual park, but, so anyway, we're gonna get back with those people and let them invest their money and recognize them for it. It's good when the community comes together for something like that, on naming a park after a police detective who lost his life in the line of duty. But that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Teeter. Councilmember Jukes?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just want to echo Councilmember Kim's comments about the chamber, and I just agree. I agree, and I love to be able to be supportive of whatever we need to make sure that's a strong partnership, because you look at chambers around Commerce City and how strongly integrated they are with the city. It's a vital relationship that we need to continue to cultivate. I just want to highlight a couple of events I was at. I was fortunate to participate or go to an event from Home Aid. Home Aid is a nonprofit organization that provides, they create a fundraiser called Builders for Babies, and it was right over here in Dick's Sporting Good parking lot. And this is an 11-year-old program that they provide diapers and wipes for child care facilities across the state that are in need. And when I say provide, they provide over $3.9 million of essentials. And I know a lot of staff was able to go over there because they had the pop-up temp and the In-N-Out burger. You know, I saw a couple of y'all getting In-N-Out burgers over there. And I would love for us to have a better partnership. When I look at the list of cities that partner with them, Commerce City unfortunately wasn't there. And so I want to make sure that our early child care providers have access. It's basically the builders community bring up U-Hauls and trucks of diapers and wipes. And if you know, some of us have children, and you know how important it is to have diapers and wipes, especially for communities that are low income. If you can't provide diapers and wipes, you can't send them to daycare. And so it's a trickle-down effect where they have to stay home and miss some days at work. So it's a critical piece. So all the early child care providers have to do is sign up and be there on the day, and they bring up a U-Haul or truck, and it's free for them. So I want to make sure we have a better partnership next year. It also goes into the fee conversation. I'm glad we were able to approve the reduced fees, because as a staff of 304 Home Aid, with this amazing outreach, they were paying a lot of costs for fees to actually run the event. So I think this is a better fee structure to help organizations like that. The other thing I want to highlight is, you know, as I often go through our neighborhoods, and I was in Eagle Creek the other day, and I was able to just highlight a couple, Mike Pinkston and Jenny Whittle. And I want to highlight them for just being examples of a quality community for a lifetime. As I got to approach them when they're walking their dog Monkey, which is a little Chihuahua, I noticed Mike, who is a firefighter in another city, picking up trash around the neighborhood. And I asked, you know, why? You know, he said, well, I love my neighborhood. I love my community. And we talked with Jenny and said, hey, are there any concerns that you have about our growth? And they've been here for 11 years or whatnot. And they said, well, no, I don't. You know, I love what we're doing. I love the community I'm in, and I've been here for 11 years. We've been here for 11 years. We moved our mom up to the homes that are their apartments, but they're detached. You know, and they're able to have their mom move up here. And I just want to highlight that, because often we do hear a lot of negative, but there's some residents across our community that are like, I love access to Rocky Mountain Nature Reserve. I love access to be able to go to our job, and Jenny's a police officer in another city as well, and so they're able to have access to both of their jobs and locations and move their families up. But just want to give a shout out to them, and thank you for being a quality community and really demonstrating one of our values in terms of city unity and wellness. The last is just thank the council for approving Robert's Rule or Bob's Rules of Order, and I think that's essential when we look at our strategic plan, again, in terms of highly effective government. And without these rules, or without order and process, it's hard to be effective and ensure we use our taxpayer dollars efficiently, and as well as have the expectations we need to move policy forward. So thank you for that. And with that, I yield my time.
Councilmember Kim.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The only thing I want to make officially known is the fact that I did finally get a date and time confirmed to meet with our developer for Settlers Crossing, Mr. Daniel Frank, letting the council know that I am meeting with him on Friday, the 28th at 1 o'clock. As to what that discussion is going to hold, no idea, but it doesn't hurt to have coffee or food, whatever. Anyways, that's all I've got.
Mayor Douglas?
Thank you. And last Friday, I attended along with Mayor Pro Tem Noble, Councilmember Teeter, and Councilmember Douglas, Kirk Collins Memorial Park. It was a great turnout. It was very heartwarming to see the community come out, even men and women in blue, in support of a fallen officer, and also give recognition to our constituent that was injured as well, or died in that accident as well. Had an opportunity to go to National League of Cities and Sacramento on the infrastructure transportation, and I was able to talk about our current process with grants, the RAISE grant, energy efficient block grant vouchers, safe streets to roads. That's being submitted by DRCOG, Community Change, Environmental Justice, that's in process, Smart Planning Grant, due in July, and the upcoming opportunities for a bridge investment program. Applying for a plan grant that's due in October, Reconnecting Community Grant. It's going to be released in July, and another railroad crossing elimination program. It's going to be released this summer. But also the ask for this group, because it's a federal group, to increase the grants that are now in the pipeline, to actually increase some of them by significant numbers. One is 900%, and that would be for safe streets and roads in our city. And that money we're asking to be allocated like ARPA funds. So the money comes in and we put that money to use as what the intent is, and then report back after we implement and use and spend the money, instead of having to go through the NEPA process. Being a long process, they're trying to make sure when we do get federal grants, we don't have to go through a lot of hoops, because right now when you get federal grants, you're in a stipulation to actually, there's a protocol sometimes that's very lengthy and very costly. So we're trying to take some of those provisions out so we do build quality work, but not be held back from the burdens of the red tape when it comes to the federal government. So, and then I will be meeting with Daniel Frank this Friday at 3 o'clock, and they'll be back tomorrow to go to CML on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Anyone else? Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. I also attended the NLC conference in Rancho Cordova, learned a lot, which I would like to share with the rest of you. So I will be putting a report together. Also attended the Kurt Holland Memorial Park ribbon cutting, and it was very emotional for me to see how this family has overcome great grief and to turn it into a positive for the rest of the members of the community. They have sacrificed greatly and have chosen to make this their permanent home. So thank you for the city and all the participants who made that possible. It was very touching and moving. Also wanted to let you know there was Mayor, or Councilmember Ford mentioned this earlier. There was another fire today, 62nd and Kearney. This one affected a couple of families, and one of them has 4 children. So if anyone wants more information on that, please feel free to contact me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that leaves it to me. I attended the Senior Commission meeting. We will be hearing a Senior Commission update coming up this month, and also we're going to be getting a report on a study that was done on seniors' needs and desires in Commerce City. We had a great discussion about that, and also spent time talking about how to make the events that the Senior Commission puts on even better, and what policies we can potentially bring forward. I too, as was mentioned earlier by the mayor, was at the Kurt Holland Memorial Park ribbon cutting, and all my best to Amanda Holland and her children and her family, and all those who knew Detective Holland. It was quite exciting to see it happen. We were at a groundbreaking 1 month ago. It took 30 days to put this park together, and it will be the envy of a lot of different areas. It's on hole 7 on the Buffalo Run golf course, by the way. So if you're on that side, you can see it. But it was really Amanda, whose sheer will brought it to pass. So congratulations to Amanda for making that happen. It was also attended by City Manager Rogers and, of course, Police Chief Guadagnola, and all of the support team as well. Mark Bush said he would like to have a chat with me, so that might be a developer meeting that I will be having coming up as well. And also, I learned that the vote was taken on April 17th. That was the first reading of the vote that banned vinyl siding in Commerce City. It's under the fire code. It was on the same night as fire sprinklers. So maybe that's why you overlooked it, is because it's actually in the fire code, not in the building code. And I am concerned about the number of homes that have been permitted that have vinyl siding, despite the fact that that was a major vote on our part and a major discussion to make it happen. That's all we have, folks. So we are going to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. I'd be remiss, and my apologies for not sharing about the Kurt Holland Park. I think it's just to make you all aware. Obviously, you all had given support when speaking about the park and helping to find any financial support. We were able to do such at the administrative level and had applied $37,000 from our contingency fund in support of the Kurt Holland Memorial Park. So we were able to help financially to bring that to fruition for our fallen detective, our fallen brother, and Detective Holland. But I wanted to make you all aware of that.
Yes, thank you very much. And we were all on the city council delighted to support a motion that made that possible. We are going to adjourn now to executive session. So I need a motion and a second to enter in an executive session of the City Council of Commerce City pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions regarding impact fees. Is there any discussion? Do I have I need a motion and a second. So are you Councilmember Teeter?
I'll make that motion.
All right, and do I have a second? Councilmember Douglas? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, the motion passes. Before entering into executive session, I need a motion and a second to automatically adjourn the meeting following the executive session. Is there any discussion? All right. I have a motion from Councilmember Douglas.
I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention, but I will go ahead and make that motion, whatever it is.
Okay, so you'll make that motion. All right, then, Councilmember Kimball, you second that
I will
motion?
second that.
All right, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. No nays. The motion passes. All right, thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Not tonight, though.